Since 1978, the world of Outlaws has brought attention and interest to American dirt track racing, showcasing some of the quickest race cars in the world and the talented drivers who pilot them. The series has earned a great deal of respect for not only having exciting racing, but they also have become a leader in the American motorsports industry. We are now joined by Brian Carter, the CEO of World Racing Group, which owns the World of Outlaws. Brian, thank you for joining us. Let's talk a little bit about the safety side of this incident at Canandaigua Speedway. What are the rules within the World of Outlaws for drivers exiting a race car?
Well, you know, there's pretty specific rules in our rule book around crews on the racetrack, drivers getting on the racetrack. You know, it's hard to govern what's happening inside the race car. So there's there's a lot of circumstances where the driver, for his own safety, would get out of the race car. So you'd expect that, and generally it requires a further step up in our procedures. A yellow turns into a red or something like that. So the rules, though, are pretty specific as it relates to approaching another race car, crews on the racetrack, drivers on the racetrack. You really prohibit it, and it's disqualified along with fines.
The challenges for you as a touring sanctioning body, you visit a lot of these racetracks around the country. Some have great lighting, some have poor safety, a lot of different things you have to deal with. How do you set the tone for what these racetracks have to do safety-wise for your series to be able to visit there?
Well, the key there is having a very repetitive process. So we have a group of guys and officials, a series director, competition directors that go up and down the road, and we really have to integrate with the racetrack's own staffing, safety, fire safety, their response teams, and their race directors too. So it's effectively a process that starts months in advance of the race of the World of Outlaws getting to a racetrack. So it's a difficult process, but one you have to be very strict about following, because you have to integrate your race officials with the race officials of the track and then pull it all off in front of really testing the facility in front of a huge group of fans.
It has to be tough for some of these promoters too, of some of these smaller tracks, just because of the economics of them being able to invest the dollars into purchasing or supplying some of the safety equipment.
That's right. You know, every track is you know, there's a lot of struggling going on in the country. The tracks are doing, several tracks are doing very well. Most of the tracks are making by, and it's a mom and pop business, a local community business, and they're really constrained by their own dynamics of any small business. So they're looking, you know, they're racing there every week. The dynamics of their racing when they're there is different than when you bring you're really testing the entire facility from a operations perspective, from a fan's perspective, from the staffing. When a World of Outlaws show gets there, you really are testing the entire facility for its performance.
What do you think will happen with the sport of winged sprint car racing going forward from today?
Well, as the guys mentioned earlier on the show, a lot of safety factors have been really integrated into the car over the last several years, really focusing on driver safety and the safety of the people in the grandstands with tethers and keeping the car on the racetrack. So, you know, from a going forward perspective, in 2014, we're actually celebrating a great, incredible year. We were scheduled over 90 shows, more than we have in 10 years. The demand for the product, for the greatest show on dirt, is really growing. So, you know, we need to look at it from a family perspective and from, you know, the motorsports family. What can we learn from it? Is there anything, you know, what is the learning moment in this situation? Do we need to do anything additional to protect the drivers and the crews and the spectators there? And that's really what we'll take a look at this incident and see if there's any way that we can take this and make sure that we can do the best that we can to prevent it from happening.
Okay, Brian, thank you very much for joining us. Well, for the latest World of Outlaws news or coverage on the Tony Stewart Kevin Ward Jr. story, sign up for our free daily e-newsletter by texting Speed Sport to 22828. Up next on Speed Sport Magazine, our Hit the Loud Pedal, presented by Fast Orange, takes us out to Calistoga Speedway in the California wine country. And we'll head back to Knoxville to see who, if anyone, can dethrone Donnie Schatz at this year's Nationals. We'll be right back. Since 1934, National Speed Sport News has been America's motorsports authority. Every month, Speed Sport Magazine comes alive with stunning photography, insightful commentary, and in-depth features. You will get the full story with Speed Sport Magazine. To start your home delivery of America's motorsports authority, log on to nationalspeedsportnews.com and hit the big yellow subscribe button. Be the fan in the know. Just go to nationalspeedsportnews.com and click subscribe.